And hello, good timers! Welcome to another installment of Andy's Keto Kitchen Cooking Series. And today we are going to be making Swedish meatballs. I actually just got a brand new cookbook that's all keto recipes from my mom, and Swedish meatballs were in there. And coincidentally, a couple of weeks ago, you might know Drew from L&D Adventures, he once again challenged me to make some meatballs for him. So, Drew's balls were pretty big, and apparently that's how Lisa likes them. But Simone likes her balls just a little bit smaller. You know, she can fit more in her mouth at one time, we'll say. And that's all we're going to say about that, actually, because this is going to be a PG ball episode right now. So, let's get to making these. So the first things first here, guys. We'll go ahead and let you know what the ingredients of this are going to be. Obviously, for meatballs, you need some ground beef. So we got 2 pounds of ground beef right there. We're going to use about a half a cup of onion, so that the little onion there ought to do it. Some beef tallow, which we're going to use to saute the meatballs in. Heavy whipping cream, which we're going to use a little bit later for our Swedish meatball sauce. And then, of course, we got pork rinds. That's going to bind the meatballs together. Going to use that beef broth over there to make the sauce as well. We got some allspice, which is the secret ingredient in most Swedish meatballs. A little bit of Worcestershire black pepper, because once again, I forgot to go to the grocery store and actually buy Worcestershire sauce, so Worcestershire black pepper is what we're going to use instead. We've got some mushrooms over here, and this is just a preference thing. I'm going to add some mushrooms just so I get my vegetables in there. And we're going to add those right to the sauce, actually. And then we got some garlic and salt to help season things up a little bit as well. So we're going to start here by cutting up the onions and mushrooms, guys, and get those sauteing. And then we'll come right back. Okay, guys, so we're just going to go ahead and cut these mushrooms up. And I'm going to basically quarter them all, except this one's kind of big, so we're going to cut it a couple more times. But I want these to be a decent size. I don't want them to be thinly sliced, so I want to be able to taste them and see them and give the sauce a little texture later. Once again, as I said already, this mushroom is just a preference thing. If you don't want mushrooms in your meatballs, you certainly don't have to do that, but I like to kind of add in veggies wherever I can on a keto diet because, quite honestly, on a keto diet, vegetables are sometimes lacking. And keeping things low carb is essential on a keto diet, and mushrooms are actually one of the lowest carb vegetables you can have. Most of the carbs are offset by the fiber that are in them. So we're just going to finish cutting these up, and then I'm also going to dice up the onion, and we're going to get everything sauteing here. Okay, so I got my cast iron pan here heating up, and for those of you guys that have watched me before, I think I've mentioned that the cast iron pan is my absolute favorite kitchen essential, and I use this for pretty much everything I can to roast in it and bake in it and saute and deep fry, all that good stuff. So now the reason why you don't see any oil in there is because mushrooms, believe it or not, you don't really saute in oil if you can help it, because they will brown up better without anything. So just a dry heat here on the mushrooms. They actually have a lot of water in them, so you'll see all that water evaporate. Once the water evaporates out of them, that's when they actually start to turn brown. So we'll go ahead and add these to it and get going. Oh, and as you notice there, Drew, it's a wooden spoon I'm using. No clanging involved. Alright. Lost a couple here. Let's go ahead and just grab those. Alright, so those are going to get going here, and then once those are done, we'll saute the onions. Alright guys, so as you can see, the mushrooms there are done sauteing. Once again, we just did a dry heat, no oil at all. That helps them brown up a little bit. So we're just going to set those off the side to cool while we melt some beef tallow, or beef fat if you will, right here into this pan. And that's where we're going to saute up those onions. So I'm going to do about a tablespoon or so of the beef tallow. So you guys can use just about any fat you want for this. It doesn't have to be beef tallow. You can use butter, or you can use olive oil or avocado oil, or bacon fat is always great as well. One thing you don't want to use, obviously, is vegetable oil or margarine. That stuff is not natural. So we try to keep things all natural here with the keto diet. So beef tallow was my choice today, but you can pretty much substitute that with any kind of fat you like. And we're just going to saute these until they become translucent, and then we're going to add 3 tablespoons of garlic to it. Then we're actually going to let it cool down a little bit, and we're going to mix it into the meatballs. Alright, those onions are sauteing up nice. We're going to go ahead and add the garlic now, guys. And about half a teaspoon equals 1 clove, and this recipe calls for 3 cloves. So if you don't like garlic, you can go a little less, or if you love garlic, you can go even a little bit more. But I'm partial, so we're going to go right in the middle. 3 teaspoons it is. And you want to make sure that you saute your garlic on a low heat, guys. It does turn real bitter if you burn it. So I've actually got the burner just about off right now. It's on, I think, 4. So that way we don't burn anything. Now also is actually a good time to add the allspice. And we're going to add the spices and saute those, because sauteing spices actually gets them to bloom, we'll say. It enhances the flavor of them quite a bit. So we're going to go about a teaspoon here of allspice. Just toss that right in there. Give it one last stir, and then we're going to let it cool down and mix it into our meatball mixture here, which we're going to make in just a second for you. Things first, we're going to make the balls here. And for those of you that make balls before, pretty much it's 3 simple ingredients. Hamburger, usually an egg, and usually breadcrumbs. But because we're doing the keto thing, obviously you guys have learned by now that we don't use breadcrumbs. We are going to use pork rinds for ours. So the pork rinds I have here today are salt and pepper flavored pork rinds. So I'm not going to add any extra salt to these, because with the seasonings from the pork rinds, it's going to be plenty salty enough. So we'll just get those 2 pounds of burger in there first. This is all natural, grass-fed burger. Trying to keep things all natural. There for now. And then we're going to crack an egg. Now usually Simone does this for me to avoid the shells, but we're going to give it a try, and we're going to do it on the side of the bowl, even though Vegas Babe says not to do that, but we're going to do it and hope for the best. Wow, I don't want to brag, but that was just about perfect there, guys. Get that little snot piece out of there. All right, and right into our trash bowl there. Okay, so then we got the pork rinds next. And we're going to do about a cup of pork rinds, guys. Now, I've obviously smashed these up. They didn't come pre-smashed, although you can actually buy them pre-smashed. We're going to go ahead, and that should be just about a cup there. The other thing we're going to add is the Worcestershire pepper. We're going to do that after I wash my hands, though, so I do get a little bit of raw hamburger on there, and then we'll add that pepper in. Always make sure you guys wash your hands after handling raw meat. Or after handling balls, too, I should say. Okay. So now some Worcestershire black pepper, and I do love this stuff. I use it all the time on my hamburgers, on my steaks. And we're going to go about a teaspoon of that in there. All right, the only thing left to do is to mix it up. Make sure you take your wedding ring off first. I've done that, so all good there. All right, we're going to get that mixing. Oh shit, you know what I forgot? I forgot the onions and garlic that we cooked already. That's supposed to go in here too, so guess we're going to wash up our hands again, then we'll go ahead and add the onions and garlic. Alright, onions and garlic time. So that onion and garlic allspice mixture, guys, is going right into these meatballs. Once again, allspice, that's the main ingredient in the Swedish meatballs. That and the Worcestershire sauce, or in this case Worcestershire pepper, but alright. Then we'll just continue along and mix this up with the hands here. Once again, we're not making the big Drew balls today. We're just going to do some bite-sized, melt in your mouth, hopefully nice and tender balls. And Drew, he seemed to be slapping his meat a lot. I'm not sure if that's a preference thing or what, but I like to be gentle with my meat. So we're not going to slap that very much. We're just going to give it a nice little mix, tell it we love it, and call it a day. So that's about it. So to make these balls here, guys, all we're going to do, I'm going to use about a, I don't know, 1 ounce portion probably. And we're going to roll the balls between your hands. So that's the size of Andy's balls. I like it. I think it's a nice size. Perfectly symmetrical. All right. So now the next thing to do, guys, is throw it into the cast iron pan that we already cooked the mushrooms and onions in. And we're going to put a nice little crust on these, and then we're going to actually finish them in a slow cooker. So I'm going to finish balling these up, and then I'll show you the rest. So one thing when working with cast iron, guys, is if you try to move the meat and it sticks to the pan, you know it's not ready yet. But if you can get the spoon under there and they come up on their own, then you know you can flip them. So that one there looks like it's pretty well ready to flip. So we're just going to turn it over. And as you can see, we've got a nice little brown crust on the outside of that one. That one there looks pretty darn good as well. And then that one as well. So that's what you're looking for, guys, is that nice little crust on the outside of your meatball. Alright, so let's have a nice little crust on them. We're just going to go ahead and transfer these over to my slow cooker, which is over in the corner here. You can't really see it, but I'll show it to you here in a few minutes. And then we're going to get rid of the rest of these meatballs, finish those off, and put those in the slow cooker. Alright, and as you can see, guys, the meatballs are done cooking. So to this cast iron pan, I'm going to add about a half a cup of beef broth. That's going to deglaze this pan, and all those flavors that we've been working on here for the past couple of minutes are all going to be combined together. And we're just going to do that, easy enough. And if you got a wooden spoon, you can scrape this down. Just get all those little bits off the bottom of the pan. And once we do that, we're going to pour this right on top of the meatballs in the slow cooker. And that's going to be the base for our sauce later on. As you can see, the meatballs are in the slow cooker now. We're going to add those mushrooms that I cooked earlier right on top of that. And then we're going to add our beef juice here. That cast iron's a little hot. I'm going to find myself a pot holder first here. Pot holder. Alright, and right into the pan, and all these juices are going to go right over the top of everything. That's going to help everything cook in there. Alright, and then all that's left to do is to cap it off with the lid, and it's going to slow cook here for about 3 hours, guys, while all these flavors combine. And then we're going to finish it off with the cream from earlier, so we'll see you in a few hours. So guys, for those of you wondering, Pickles, Simone here, is working tonight until about 8 p.m. So it's just going to be me at dinner tonight, unfortunately. But she's going to have these hopefully really good meatballs when she comes home as a late night snack. But right now, it's been going on for about 2 hours, and we'll take a look at what they're looking like right now here. So as you can see, the sauce has started to reduce a little bit, and the mushrooms are in there as well. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to take the meatballs out, and then we're going to add our heavy cream to this, and also some xanthan gum. This stuff right here. Xanthan gum is a good keto thickener. I also do use psyllium husk powder at times as well, which you guys have seen. So the xanthan gum, you need to use only about a teaspoon, because a little bit goes a long ways. It's a very potent thickener, we'll say. So yeah, we're going to add that and a little bit of heavy cream to this, and then we're going to put the meatballs back in, actually, to simmer for about 1 more hour before we go ahead and enjoy this. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a little slurry here with the xanthan gum and then the heavy cream. So we're just going to add, like I said, about a teaspoon of that xanthan gum in there. And about 1 cup of heavy cream. And as you can see, that box had pretty much nothing in it. So I came prepared with another box here. Different brand, same thing. And we're just going to do 1 cup there. Then we're going to stir it all together with a fork here, because that's good and handy. And so yeah, you want to give this a stir until the xanthan gum in there dissolves. If you put the xanthan gum straight into the hot liquid, it's going to just clump on you, and it's not going to actually thicken much at all. So you're going to treat the xanthan gum much like you would treat cornstarch or a flour roux if you weren't doing keto. Alright, so we're going to add this in slowly to start with. And just give that a little stir. And you'll notice this xanthan gum is going to thicken this pretty well. We're going to let it go for about 10 minutes before we add the meatballs back in, just to let it thicken up without them first here. You'll go ahead and add the rest of that in. Alright, so our meatballs here are about done. They've been simmering for about an hour in the sauce here. And we're going to be serving this up with some cauliflower rice that I'm cooking right now. Obviously, if you're not doing keto, you could certainly use mashed potatoes or any kind of pasta would be great with this. And if you are doing keto, you could also do mashed radishes, or you could do mashed cauliflower rice as well, but I just did a little bit of riced cauliflower tonight. So we're going to serve this up and give it a try. And there it is, guys, all served up on a bed of cauliflower rice. Got a little bit of parsley sprinkled on top of there. And yeah, let's give this a try. And all right, guys, so we're going to dig in here, give you my opinion. Got a little bit of meatball, a little bit of mushroom, some of the cauliflower rice. You can definitely taste the onion in there, that sauteed onion that we did earlier. Honestly, I think it might need a little bit more allspice. I do like my stuff with lots of flavor, so I would say maybe a little bit more allspice, maybe a touch more salt as well. But you got the creaminess from the sauce there, which is real nice. So yeah, you know what? This is pretty good. I'm not going to say it's my favorite recipe I've ever made, but it's not bad. So a little bit more spices, and I think we'd have it mastered. So thanks for joining us, guys. I'm going to finish this up, and thanks for the challenge there, Drew. I think you might have won this one, actually, buddy. So cheers to you, and cheers to you guys for watching. Have a great time, guys, and have a good time.